Hello, and welcome to From the Depths, which is a new game that I got for Christmas because it was a gift, and that's how Christmas works. Don't explain that to people, that's stupid. Um, this game is basically kind of like a Minecraft plus Space Engineers plus real physics sort of game. You could build whatever you want planes, tanks, bombs, missiles, carriers, ships, everything you can basically build in this game. The game is kind of about fighting and also resource management if you're playing the campaign mode and adventure mode. It's also about kind of being a pirate because you can steal things like ships. You could go and steal them, I guess. That's how stealing works. Um, but it's kind of more of a fun engineering game, which is the game style that I personally love. So you could basically build anything. So I have built a river monitor type ship over here, and I built a destroyer type ship over here. Now the destroyer type ship is not done. I have several things to work on, but the river monitor is done. So I've positioned my character, which is me. Hi, say hi, me. He's not going to say anything. So this is my very first ship that I've ever constructed. It's pretty simple and small in design. Got rams up front because, if you want to penetrate the enemy, front is very good to go from. This is basically designed after kind of like 1860s, 1870s style river monitors where they had a very, very low in the water hull, which you can see the water is being kind of weird. Oh, there it goes. You can see that the hull is low in the water and only the top couple blocks here are actually sticking out, which helps with shells because as they come in they can deflect off the actual hull here because it's angled at the top. Now angling your armor in this game is an actual thing, which is lovely. I have discovered that the hard way. Don't ask, it's again the hard way, but you can actually deflect certain types of shells. Some types of shells are going to be traveling faster than others because this game does utilize custom cannons and custom shell types, which means that you can change out what actual shells and cannons you're using. On this tiny little ship here, I have opted for a wheelhouse design for control, which kind of just means it's a block in the middle of the ship with a wheel attached to it that you can turn, because 1860s and all. So if I go here and be like, oh yes, I'd like to control the ship, well, you can turn it the other way, or you can throttle up, throttle down, all that good stuff. So inside here we have a couple of repair bots on this side. Is that repair bots? I don't know, I can't tell. Whatever. Anyway, there are a couple of repair things around here. We got air pumps going to keep the actual air in the ship because I don't want the ship to sink. After all, it's kind of supposed to float. That's the design of a river monitor versus a submarine. The river monitor that I have here is designed around this cram cannon, which is just a fancy word for Big R's cannon. This is a 1300 millimeter shell, which is it's a bit ridiculous for any sort of gun system to have a 1300 millimeter cannon, but this game is kind of about being over the top completely and utterly. Now this cannon is basically designed to fit in this hull and only this hull. You could, say, slap it in another hull by copying it and pasting it, but this is what it was specifically designed for because I'm just that cool, I do that. Yeah. Also, there's a custom steam engine system in here, which is, half the fun of walking around a ship is actually walking around a ship, so why don't we do that instead? So here's the turret room. Got weird water clipping here. So this is the main turret, which obviously goes out there, and you can shoot at things with it because it's a gun. These are the AI systems here, which transmits the AI signal across the ship. It has pretty much range of the ship is set as what it is. These AI card slots, they allowed me to put a circling AI in here, which I have custom set to 300 meter. Oh, two. No, where is the basic settings? No. Either way, I have this set so that if it detects an enemy within 300 meters of the ship, it will circle around them and try to stay at a broadside with about an angle of 45 degrees or so. What that angle does is allows more armor to get in the way of the shells, increasing the chance of a ricochet and decreasing the chance of a full penetration into the actual ship. Now this game takes into account the not only the penetration angles but also the speed of the shell. So if the shell's going fast enough, it'll just penetrate straight through and blow up on the inside, which is why I've tried to angle this as far as I could as far as the AI is concerned. Now, as long as it's hitting here, all it's hitting is the steam engine system, which may seem like a extremely critical system that you wouldn't want to get blown up, but again, we have repair bots on this ship, and it's kind of meant to just be a throwaway unit. It costs, what, 21,000 total? So it's more of a distraction unit than anything, and it'll be easily repaired. So these pipes, they all seem intricate. They're really not. They're just boilers to the top of the steam, which pushes it through the pistons, which pushes the pistons down, which rotates the shaft, which rotates the propeller, and then the exhaust comes out through these tubes at the top. Now, again, saying that this is probably a critical system, we don't have to worry about this. This is not the main concern. This is the main concern. And you may be thinking, well, what could you have possibly put up there that would make this a critical system? Well, this happens to be where our munition storage is at, up here at the very front and then here at the wheelhouse control center. So, a hit here is very, very bad. I had a ship that I was testing it against. I think it was called the Paddle Gun prototype of the Deepwater Guard, which is one of the enemy factions of the game. One of the shells managed to penetrate at an angle like this or so. It was pretty much flat on with this armor here. Let's say it blew out this entire section, and when it blew it out, it pushed the ship down, so it blew upward and pushed the ship down. And then the propellers, well, since the ammo was so close to the wheelhouse, it destroyed the control center. So the propellers were stuck in a 100% main drive position, which the main drive position is down here. This is your speed, this is your main drive percentage. So it just kind of turned into a submarine really fast, which is not exactly ideal for a ship that is supposed to be not a submarine, as I've stated previously. Now, if I go into third person here with my guy at the character wheel, we can lap those drives up to 100%. So if I go into a true third person camera here, like a non-dope, we can see the ship is moving. It gets up to around, I think it was 12 meters per second is the max speed, but that's after a really long time of just having the steam engine spool up. So we can have it turn, we can have it maneuver, we can have it like fire on things, because all the AI is actually connected to the mainframe, so these little guns on the sides here can actually shoot independently from the main gun if they want to. See in this map view that here we have, this is our destroyer here, and this is the monitor. We can control various things from here, which are all these complicated buttons. I don't know what they do yet. They do a lot of things. They're very cool. But for now, I'd like to just showcase this ship and then a little bit of that ship and then be done. So if I turn the main drive down to minus 100%, so we stop really quickly here and then shut it off, you'll notice that these keys up in the corner here, those are the drive keys, those are the turn, roll, all that other good stuff keys. They're kind of complicated at first. You're like, what in the hell am I supposed to do with that? It's not that complicated once you get the hang of it. It's really just basically W, A, S, D, Q, and E if you're a Space Engineers player. It's pretty much all the same controls, just on the other side of the keyboard, as opposed to the normal side of the keyboard. So this is a secondary gun of the ship. This is the 40mm Bofors basic weapon, because I'm too lazy to program a new weapon. So if I take control of that, I can show you how this works. So this basically moves around, elevates, all the good stuff. It's basically just an AA gun from kind of World War II era. You're gonna have it shoot pretty quickly. It's explosive gun, so when it hits things, it does, you know, explode and do a lot of damage. Internally, it's not very armor penetrating. It does more surface damage than anything else. But if you do manage to expose stuff with, say, the cram cannon, then this thing will pretty much rip it apart. So there's 2 of these on each side. They're both controlled by the main AI for the guns. This is also controlled by the main AI for the guns, but I can also take control of this one if I'd like to. And if I fire a shot, we can see that that's very, very slow for a shell. I release the gun, it'll reload, and then I can use it again later. Here we have the exhaust for the steam system, as I've covered previously. This is a rangefinder on top, which it's a detection system. This game relies heavily on detection systems as far as the guns and missiles and things are concerned. It's really more of a showpiece as far as this ship is concerned for me. It does actually work, it does function, it does help the accuracy, but I did it more for show because this gun, it's got like a couple blocks of barrel. It's not accurate at all. If you're shooting it against an enemy ship, it'll just go anywhere it wants to, unless you're manually controlling it, which you don't want to manually control something in the middle of a battle because you usually have to stand on the outside like I would be right now, and if an enemy has anything that hits you anywhere near you and it has explosive damage, you're basically dead, and then you'd have to hit the respawn button, which you'd come down very slowly, and you'd probably miss, and the ship would be going faster than you, and it's just a whole mess of things that you don't want to have happen in the middle of a battle. Now the ship is designed to withstand a lot of hits. Again, it's got good heavy armor here, but one good hit is going to take something like this out. Which brings me over to my destroyer over there, which you can use the map venue here, and I can actually just teleport straight onto it. If I can zoom in far enough, so here, and then we go teleport. There we go. Let me check. Yep, okay. So you teleport to the nearest chair inside the actual ship, or on the deck of the actual ship. It doesn't matter where you put the chair. So this is my design entirely. That was also my design entirely. This is the destroyer, which I don't have a name for yet, and I would like it if you had one, or had a suggestion for one. Slap it in the comments. It would be appreciated. It really would. If I go ahead and actually take you through this destroyer, this is the hull outside here. I decided that these struts on the outside, these flotation buoy kind of things, they were really, really necessary to keep the ship from, well, tipping over, other undesirable things from happening to it. Aerodynamics and water dynamics, hydrodynamics, I believe it's called, they are an actual effect in this game. So if you build a frickin' giant waffle, it's not going to be very fast. But if you build a needle, it's going to be extremely fast if you put the same engine systems in there. There are several different types of engine systems, including electric, RTG, which is kind of like a radioactive isotope, I believe, which generates infinite power. I'm not too sure on that. I haven't used that system yet. But there's also fuel engines, which I have not grasped fully as far as this game's concerned. Like, I'm a mechanic in real life, I do work on actual engines, so they make sense to me in real life, but in this game, things are not exactly always real. I am pretty well equipped with these tinier steam engines here, which I have a big one in here. This is quite large for a small steam engine system. I have 14 pistons and 4 boilers here, each with 6 tubes per, which connect to a transmission, which is allowing the actual control pieces up front to control the propellers in the back here. This destroyer is extremely buoyant, as I made it out of light alloy instead of the heavy metal over there, which means that it kind of just, boings and boings and bings and bongs and all that other crazy stuff that you don't really want a ship to do. So what I've had to do is add a lot of lead to the bottom of it, which just kind of keeps the keel and center of mass lower. If you've ever been rock crawling in like a truck or a jeep or something, you know that center of mass you don't want it high at all. It's a bad idea to have it high. So I have a smokestack here, which just takes the excess steam out of here and just puts it through here and out into the wilderness of ocean nothingness, which is lovely. By the way, this game does look very, very nice if you have the right graphics settings, which luckily I do. So, if I take my character here, we can walk around the actual conning tower, which is sort of what this is. So this up here, this is the fly bridge, basically, of the ship. You have your control thing, you have a chair, you have great visibility as far as the sea is concerned. As long as you don't glitch into the ceiling. Thank you very much. You can sit down, you can control the ship, left, right, all that good stuff. If I get out a second, I can show you the lower bridge, which is the more armored section, which I did use bulkheads and heavy metal, as you can see by the weird color variations. There's wood decking down here, but I mean, it's armored wood, so whatever. I don't know exactly how you armor wood, but it is, apparently. So if I go into the chair, you can't really see much, but this is more of a kind of a, oh no, the fly bridge has been destroyed. We gotta go down here, and it's more kind of concealed, I guess. It's not concealed, but more, what's the term for it? It's more protected. And I'm gonna have another one in this hull here, which this is where the steam engine systems are. You can walk around. I'm having control blocks here and here for rudder controls and such, and I'm planning on having kind of fun stuff in here, more like crew quarters and some smaller machinery. I was thinking maybe backup fuel engines, or actually, you know what? I think RTGs. I should try to use RTGs because they are infinite power. Although I was trying to keep the cost of this low, so if I ever do go into the campaign mode with a ship like this, I can relatively easily build it, and it won't be such a massive loss if it is, in fact, sunk. Now, right now, it's costing around 22,500 materials, which is not a lot in this game. Now, you may see the materials nearby. That's just this ship having materials and this ship having some materials. But how you get materials in the actual game modes is either through a resource ring like this, which will give you anywhere from a few thousand resources to infinite resources at a constant rate as far as the amount that it gives per second is concerned. So, you know, you don't want to exactly have like one of these that's just infinite. You're going to want to have a lot of these that are infinite, which there are quite a few around in the actual campaign map, which is called, the planet of it is called Neter, I believe. There's also Glau, and one other that I can never remember the name of. Well, it doesn't really matter. There's always resource rings, and there's always enemy ships that you can pirate and steal, which is another good asset of this game. You can steal ships from the enemies, and you can scrap them to get materials back. It's actually quite nice. Now, as far as materials are concerned, what are they used for? They're not only used for building ships, they're also used for powering engines. So the steam engines, which are switched off because I don't have any resources actually in the ship, if I give it some, there, that should have some. As soon as I actually boot up the ship, it should start, you know, using those good old resources, like that one is over there. And these resources can also be stored. They can be harvested. They can be stolen. They can be. There's a lot of things you can do in this game. That's what I'm trying to get along here. So this is basically the little destroyer that I have so far. Now the plan for this is to have an advanced cannon here, another one here, and then one way in the back here, maybe around here-ish, where it'll go. These 3 advanced cannons will be good against most enemies, except the most heavily armored ones. And I was thinking about also having a torpedo system here and here. So 2 torpedoes with 4 torpedoes or maybe 5 each. Those will launch from the deck out into either side, and those will go and destroy either shipborne targets or submarine targets. There is another option to have them double up as missiles, which will go up instead of down. Or if they're targeting a submarine, they'll go up a little bit and then they'll go down and turn into torpedoes. But I prefer to have a separate system as far as missiles are concerned, maybe even a separate ship. Although it wouldn't be that hard to fit a missile system, like right about here or so, just coming out the top, and they can go phew, and then they can go and swivel to turn and hit their target. Because this is a very buoyant design as far as hulls are concerned. There's not a whole lot actually under the water, but if you add more weight to a thing at the top, that makes it top heavy, which makes it by going to true third person here, it makes it go back and forth a lot more, which I don't really want to do because, well, I'll show you one of the other cool parts of this game. If you go into the environment tab, you can max out your wave factor and your weather quality. So this is about to get absolutely ridiculous when I unpause. So you can see, oh, it's normal. Oh, it's slightly stormy. Yeah, no, these are going to be like 50-meter tall waves. Yeah. This is how bad this game can get. And in the normal campaign mode, this is how bad this can get. It's a little bit ridiculous and, quite frankly, unrealistic. But come on, who doesn't want to see a ship do a barrel roll at 100 feet in the air? This game is going to be fun to play. I can tell that right now. So, I guess that's all I had planned for today as far as talking about this game. Leave a suggestion for names for this little ship down below. I think the other ship is, although it's still alive. I think, although it is becoming a submarine rather quickly. But leave suggestions for this ship's name to the comments, all that good stuff. Suggest what you'd like to see, campaign mode, small sandbox, building, adventure mode, I guess. That's another option. And rate the new microphone. I do have a new microphone in play right now. This is going to be a very interesting game. I can tell that right now. So I hope you've enjoyed this From the Depths video. All the other basic YouTuber stuff. And I suppose that means goodbye.